than having that 2.5 child or that white picket fence or the 2 cars or the next update on your iPhone.
Well, so that's the thing, right? So it kind of goes, there's 2 schools of thought there, 2 major schools of thought. One is you tell everybody the truth. You tell everybody the truth, and then what happens? You have mass chaos, and humanity's just going to descend into lawlessness, and it's basically going to be like Mad Max. But there's also another way, and that other way is that everybody says, holy crap, you know, we're faced with this unbelievable thing, and if we don't come together, you know, it's going to be Coitons. Well, if it's going to be Coitons, then maybe we should all put our heads together and work together and survive it. And then after that, we can descend into Mad Max. But I would say that during that time, we would probably learn a lot about working together and actually putting aside these thousands of years of being enslaved by monetary systems, by greed, by self-serving things, and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, I would always ponder that the powers that should not be, that when they go into their meetings and discuss what they're going to do, they're not pondering about today or tomorrow or next week. They're wondering the next 50 years, the next 100 years. And then when they have the access to the knowledge, whether it be ancient cuneiform tablets or the birch bark scrolls of my ancestors or the other indigenous peoples that have their iconography, symbolism, or hieroglyphics written in stone, if they have access to that true knowledge, are they not able to manipulate the cycles for their benefits and not ours?
Well, that's just it. Absolutely. They can, and so can we. That's the thing. It really does come down to who controls the masses. Who controls the minds of the masses? If you take a look back at history, and you look into psychoanalysis, you find guys like Wilford Trotter and the Crowd, Gustav Le Bon. These guys in the 19th century had it licked as far as how people behave individually and then how people behave in a crowd. And it was vastly different. They found that people won't do things individually as themselves, but once they associate themselves with other people, a lot of the fear and hesitation to do something that you might not normally do by yourself is dropped, right? So that's why it's so important to always maintain impartiality as much as you can in anything you do, because it really helps you go down the road of the truth or fact. So, you know, let me give you an example. Like if you say that I'm a Republican, well, you know, there's something to be said when you're a Republican. There's a mindset, there's a platform, an ideology, there's things that you buy into. Then you get into the whole left-right paradigm, and that is a whole distraction that you really don't want to get into, and that's one of many distractions. So you have all of this stuff that happens, and all of these associations that you make that kind of mold into this identity. And the more associations you have that are tied to your identity, the more biased that you are and the more boxed in you are. Whereas if you don't do that and you look at things from a totally impartial standpoint, you get to see a lot of the programming that now exists within these groups, if you will. And it's all about control. It's all about mass mind control, but almost compartmentalized in a way, where you have like different factions, different things, right? different religions, different political ideologies, different
reality bubbles.
Yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable.
When we get caught up in that microcosm and the macrocosm, the individual in itself is in that want or need of absolute control. And from my perspective, where one day I'm just rolling down the street and the next thing I'm ran over by an 80,000-pound garbage truck, you realize that you don't have that control. And it's unfortunate, because a challenge that happens when we prescribe or proclaim these labels, then we have to be willing to accept the fact that somebody else does not have the same definition as you do for that label. So then it's like, what dictionary do you prescribe to? The Oxford, the American Heritage?
And it makes things so much more complicated, does it not, Naysay?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
And then when we talk about it many times, Brave New World, 1984, and you find out that these machinations of conditioning is occurring right before us. And so I've always pondered, is it just distraction from the truth, the occultation of the absolute truth, and we get caught up in our own dogma or paradigms of, is that red or is that cherry red, or is that fire brick red, or is that apple red?
Exactly.
Semantics.
Is it Christian? Is it Buddhist? Is it Muslim? Is it Native American? Is it whatever it is? Do you see what I'm saying? It all just, once you do that, you've got a box. We're boxed in. And
right.
that's not to say that you can't respect or go down. It's, to me, it I don't know, it's complicated. It really truly is. If you think about it, it's complicated.
Well, one thing that we are so fortunate is that we have Captain Kev here piloting and directing us on the USS Douche Canoe, so we can go beyond where no man or ma'am dares to go.
Or they.
Is the captain in his chair again now?
They. Don't forget they.
Yes, I'm in my chair. I'm in my chair.
Twinkle, twinkle, assholes.
With my really obnoxious, ghostly soundboard.
Oh my, hell,
yes, indeed.
damn.
But no, I was just for people who are wondering why I was very quiet for the first 17 minutes. It's not like me. I was trying to get us restreaming today to multiple platforms, but we've had to settle for just YouTube as usual, as well as obviously our home on TFR. So I apologize for being distracted, guys.
But you pulled it off. It's going now, right?
Well, we're going. Yes, it's going. Listen, I'm not touching a thing. We're going. That will do me, Joe.
God bless you. By the way, if I am distracted a little bit, we recently got a kitten. And kitten is being just a little bit
He's knocking furniture
nutty.
over.
He just knocked half the furniture over.
That's all right. That's all right, dude. Because listen, one of the things you sent today, and I was listening to you kind of on and off there while I was trying to juggle stuff. But whether you're red or
blue, you were juggling stuff. Whether
you're red or blue, and there's no such thing as a conservative anymore. They've rebranded to the conserve a grift. What doesn't matter what you buy into. It doesn't.
Wait a minute. What is a conserve a grift?
A conserve a grift? Dude,
yeah, what is
most
that?
of the people on the right now, all they want to do is grift for money.
Oh yeah, dude. They're all. Or buy my vitamins.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, whether you're red, blue, green, yellow, doesn't matter what color you are, doesn't matter what you believe, doesn't matter one iota about anything. If some of the stuff that Joe Joseph has brought to the table today, which lines up with a lot of the stuff that Suspicious Observers talks about, Joe, this doesn't discriminate these kind of earth changes that are coming our way, dude. I was listening to Randall Carlson last night as well.
Another just heavy hitter, man. Heavy hitter.
I've asked him to come on a couple of times. I'm going to ask again. But he was talking about how these changes as opposed to what we used to think, them taking ages and a very long time for these kind of things to kick in when it comes to climate, earth changes, all these kind of stuff that we talk about a lot. He was really highlighting the fact that this takes place in basically the blink of an eye in geological terms, Nacy, Joe, as opposed to hundreds or thousands of years. We're talking about just a few years. And one thing that I came across early when I started to get into the alternative media, looking at stuff online, and the Deepwater Horizon event came along over in the Gulf of Mexico, and that everyone can remember that. But the one thing that really, really shocked me, especially living over in Scotland, was when I found out back then at that point there was already problems being reported and recorded with the Gulf Stream. Now, I say it's important to me in Scotland. It's important to all of us in Scotland because without the Gulf Stream, we would look more akin to Moscow during the winter. And that keeps us nice and semi-temperate, very wet, Joe. But
do you remember that about 15 years ago?
Yeah.
We started talking to, was it John? I can't remember his last name. John Moore, yes, John Moore. And he brought forth that map from the
U.S. Navy.
Department of the Navy. Yeah, and it showed the post-pole shift map of what was left of the United States. Of course, the problem is where is it situated? How is it situated once the crust becomes destabilized?
Was that the IM map?
I think so. Where they said run to the Ozarks. And funny enough, that's where all the rich are flocking to, and they're building their caves and they're doing their thing. And that's where you have like one bank for every 80 residents. It's obscene, what's going on out there. But
the thing is, Joe,
it marries up.
We're starting to get science papers now, not just whack jobs like me sitting over in my house in Glasgow.
It's crazy.
Yeah, because you've got one pulled up here. Major Atlantic ocean current system might be approaching a critical threshold.
Yes.
And what I came to learn back at the time was it's not just like, okay, well, the Gulf Stream's gone. Don't, I'm not affected by it. Well, if you live on planet Earth, you are. Because all of the world's weather systems and the ocean currents are very, very, very intricately working together as an entire, I think it's heliothermal system or thermal helio system, something like that. So if you take out one piece, Joe, that can have a really, really dramatic knock-on effect,
And you said it best, is intricate.
Yep.
It's not just intricate, but it's very delicate.
Yep.
That's the thing, is when we're talking about, like crust destabilization, it doesn't take much to disrupt the plastic membrane that exists between the crust and the mantle that kind of locks us into place. So the same can be said about our weather, and we're starting to see the results of it. Here in the Northeast, we're inundated with rain. It's been very wet. It's been very humid. It has been very green. It's wonderful in that regard. But out west in the United States, they are in one heck of a severe drought. And weather is wacky all over the world. Also, seismic activity. These are all precursors to things that are coming. So this is just more validation, and it's something that we were talking about prior to us coming onto YouTube. Was in the past week, I've just been having these like moments of just like, wow, I can't believe what I'm seeing. Finally, the science is coming up to speed to what people like Ben Davidson and others have said for years, but now you've got mainstream science kind of backing it up, or it's just getting so noticeable now that they can't hide it, which I think it's a combination of both.
If I can toot my own horn here, I've been going to my old audio clips from when I was on TFR with Phoenix Rising, and in order for it on my YouTube channel, I have to take out the copyright material in order for to do the dance on YouTube. And I'm listening to what I was squawking about 5 years ago, and I'm feeling vindicated, because what's happening is exactly what I proposed was going to happen. And it wasn't that I'm a prophet or anything. It's just that I've been fortunate in my situation where my financial needs are met. And because of that, I'm able to continue to scrounge around the internet and read books and recognize the pattern. Because when you start recognizing the pattern, you have a better opportunity of predicting what's going to happen tomorrow. And in the 20 years that I've been living here in Moorhead, it is the first week of August. And last night when I was sleeping, I had to grab my blanket. And usually I sleep with just a sheet. And I had to put a blanket on last night.
I agree. Yeah, same here, buddy. It got into the 40s the last 2 nights, which is kind of unheard of. Not impossible, of course, but, that's fall type of temperatures. Now, tomorrow is going to be hot and humid. Today was hot and humid. But the nights, the night temperatures have plummeted. So it was just kind of weird.
Oh, dude, over here, we've had like a really good heat. We had our first ever yellow alert. That was getting into the 30s.
Oh, man, you are in your glory, aren't you?
I'm in my glory, absolutely, because it's not quite as humid as some of the places in the US, and I like my heat anyway. But even I was starting to feel a bit uncomfortable in it, I must admit. But
Really?
This is the thing. It might be getting hotter out there, folks, but there's a real strong chance it's not going to be by fire. It'll be by ice. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere. This is Freaky Friday, and we are only just starting. We'll be right back. There we go. Yes. Okay, so YouTube people, you can slap me. You can slap me now, because I kind of messed up the whole restreaming thing. I'm going to have to master this over the weekend. I was hoping to get us live onto here at YouTube. There was Twitch, there was Facebook, there was Odyssey. Hey, 1 out of 4 ain't bad, right? And TFR, I suppose, we're on there. So I think we got a super chat in. Let me play that just real quickly before we go anywhere. It's DJ Bison. Give me 2 secs, guys. Pull us up here. And Scotty is house sitting today, folks. So we haven't sacked him. The rumours are wrong.
DJ Bison donated £2 through Super Chat. Paranormal guys capture spirit in Gloucestershire.
Okay, I'll write that down. See if we can tram that in. There's a lot of paranormal activity going on out there right now, I must admit. Do you know Joe, who I spoke to 1 week over on Warrior Mode, and it was like pinch myself material? Dave Schrader. From the
Really?
Yeah, man, from the Holzer Files and Coast to Coast.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, what a lovely, lovely guy. Just totally down to earth. I shouldn't have expected any different, but dude, talk about ghost investigations, but with total logic and science deployed as well. Takes it to a new level, man. Takes it to a new level. I like all that.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. One thing I've learned in doing this stuff for years is that everybody's reachable, It just, I think what really plays into it is the energy you put out there and what your intention is. And when your intention's good and the energy you're putting out there is good, I think that there's a connection that's made, which is why over the years, it's been kind of eerie how Ange has been able to get like, oh yeah, all these people that I couldn't dream of getting.
So are you trying to throw Ange under the ambassador bus.
No,
No,
that
you
was all
knew
your
right
fault.
away. No, you knew fine what that was, right?
Oh my God. Oh.
Good times,
Oh.
Joe. Good times, huh?
Oh. Hey, so what's he doing these days?
Mr. Ambassador is, I think he was, trusting plans and selling his opium and it just over. Look, dude, I tried to look for it on YouTube one day, couldn't find it. So maybe the Lord of the LARP has moved on. There's far better LARPers than him out there now, but I reckon he was one of the originals, man, the OG of LARPing, Mr.
Yeah, probably
Ambassador.
so. Although they have gotten so much more elaborate with that and complex.
Botnets.
And I think you
there's
hit a big thing too. Everybody out there, like you said, in the what do you call it? The truthers or the right or whatever. It's all about money and buy my thing and my snake oil and my crap. And it's really
At
getting
least
ridiculous.
Jim Jones gave away the Kool-Aid for free, boys.
Amen
He
to
gave
that,
it away for free.
Amen
Yeah.
to that.
You
Yeah.
see?
It's just really, it's
Here
sickening,
we go.
man.
Here we go, dude. Here we go. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, time travelers, interdimensional creepers, ghosts, ghouls, goblins, cryptids, creatures, creepers. What else have we got tuning in today? Naysay and Joe? I didn't mean to add Naysay and Joe to the list. Would I do a thing like that? But before the break, I was teasing the audience. Well, I don't know if I'd call it teasing, but I was saying forget by fire. Possibly by ice. And still, I know people are saying the place is heating up and it certainly feels that way. But I still think if I had to put my money on it, being a quasi-pseudoscientist that I am, I would say we're heading towards one of these miniature ice ages. But hey, what would I know? What would I know?
Well, I think you're going to see, I think you're right, but quantum, right? I think you're going to see both at the same time.
Nice.
I really do, because if the crust destabilizes and we have a series of plates or tectonic plates, you're going to have massive shifting and you're going to have, volcanoes just going crazy and mantle and everything. It's going to be crazy. Cats sleeping with dogs. Oh, nutty. But you know what I mean? I think you're going to have that, and we're going to plunge into a damn ice age. So it's going to be a whole heap of things. But the one thing I want to say is I think it's quite survivable if we were able to get people to understand the severity of the situation, and I know everybody gets all jittery when it have the leadership to help guide people the right way to make it happen. And unfortunately, because we're such a money-centered society and materialistic-centered society, those people in high places are corrupt. But, take it all away. And all it is about saving humanity at that point. Maybe something better happens. I don't know. But most people tend to focus on the doom and gloom. It turns into Mad Max, and we're all dead anyway.
Maybe to avoid critical mass as we listen to the Wookiee slowly waking up, creating that ability to produce more dopamine might happen if we just take a moment to give a shout out to the Wookiee cave.
Okay, I will head on over there to the Wookiee cave. There's only a few in there today. There's only a few. I think they've all joined the optical illusion on YouTube. We have got Bam in there, all one, Gentle Wolverine, Psycho Dave 321, and Daryl Bowles. And of course, me and Sophia are getting it on in the corner. Yes, getting it on like Kong.
Wow, wow, wow.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was actually It is what it is. It is what it is. So listen,
Well,
back to you, dude. Back to you for our Earth changes and what's going on. Because me and Jimmy were discussing this the other night as well. And when you start looking around the planet, there is wackiness and weirdness. You know, even in Siberia, you've got the kind of the fires that were going on there. Not sure if they're still going on now, up into the Arctic Circle, and I don't know. Listen, are we just? Is it because we've got so much information at our fingertips that we start to see patterns that sometimes may or many times may not exist?
I don't know, maybe.
Well, that full spectrum is going to happen. Like you were talking earlier about, are we going to have an ice age? Is it going to be fire? If we're on a sphere, a globe-ish type of planetoid or whatever it is.
A hemorrhoid shape.
Please. Right. So if it's going to shift or tilt or spin, then that full spectrum is going to occur where we have the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and the equatorial plane. And so it's just going to shift to one area to the other. And within that shift, the tectonic plates are going to adjust also. Because if you look at the mountain ranges occurred within hours. They weren't thousands of years to happen. If you think about a carpet on a hardwood floor, when it buckles, it buckles. And so this is where the mountain ranges occurred, was from these major shifts when these plates collided with each other, where those weak points thrust up, and lo and behold, we have mountains created. So to what extent? Who knows? But it's exciting to be on the ride.
Well, but like I said, one thing is for certain, there were survivors, because you have cultures that all have the lore from, that the oral record from that time that basically speak of the day the earth stood still. And it was all basically people talking about the same things within their their locale, and they all are very similar.
We've got that record, right? And you could go back to the Aramaic before that as well. But how many times do you think, guys, have we had advanced civilization that there was nobody maybe to pass that information on afterwards? There was no remnant found of that in the kind of the layers. Many times have we been here and done this before? Because these cycles, you look at the length of time that it's been going on, and Randall Carlson again, who's showing how right, like a perfect sine wave. These Earth changes, they come and go over this 12,000 year cycle, and then you've got them now saying that like the Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, and the Denisovans, they go back to about 150,000 years ago in one cave, right? There was a whole heap of these hominids getting it on, having a party. In between then and now, I mean, how many times realistically could we have done this? We talk about Atlantis, right? As one place that could be a civilization where there's only a few bits of information left. But is there a pre-Atlantis? Is there an Atlantis one? You know what I'm saying?
There was. Absolutely. There was different. There is at least 6. They can trace back these cycles 6 to 60,000 years past, right?
So let me throw this in then, Joe, because this is something I've tried to bat about in my head, and I'm not sure. And we had somebody very, very special show up on the scene over here, right? Called Jesus. And I wonder, and I want to ask you your speculation, because we're on the USS Dushcanoe heading for Speculation Island. Do you think the creator sent an earlier version for these earlier cycles, these earlier humans that came and went?
I can't speculate, but I will say
you can speculate. We just can't nail it down.
I can. Speculate. I am not totally convinced that this is the first.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's a really good way of summing up me babbling for 9 minutes trying to ask that.
No, and really, there is a great book out there called Earth's Earliest Ages and it was written in the 1800s. Let me find the author of it, and you can download it for free. And it's George G.H. Pember. So George Pember, he wrote this book. It is a stunningly interesting book that gives the biblical argument for pre-Adamite civilizations. And he was very, this was his crowning achievement, or his capstone work, that basically said there were civilizations prior to Adam. And this is the biblical justification for it. So
well, even
if anybody wants to read, check it out. It's available, I think, on
internetarchive.org.
Yes, that's correct.
Nice.
Very. So what were you saying? They say.
Even to add to that, my ancestors, the Anishinaabe, they talk about the seventh fire prophecy, and it means that they recognize that there was 7 different cataclysmic occurrences that have changed the world as we know it. And that's what the Mayans in their 2012 prediction was. They said it's not the end of the world, it's the end of the world as we know it. And that's a cataclysmic event. And I love where I theorize that, all of these radioactive materials that we dig up out of the mountains and stuff, those were the remnants of ancient civilizations 100,000 years ago, maybe 1,000,000 years ago. And that was their nuclear plant. And that it crumbled and got squished, and layer upon layer upon layer occurred, or the mountains created around it. And then we're just digging up their old radioactive waste.
That's
just
right.
like they might in the future.
That's why you can make the argument that the Earth is 12,000 years old, 6,000 years old, 100,000 years old. You could say it's 1,000,000 years old. It's all of those because it's reincarnations of humanity, or, this version. Let me give you this, right? Because this is how crazy this has been. So you got the fantastic work of Ben Davidson and others on YouTube. Believe me, there's plenty of experts out there that are talking openly about this, that have different viewpoints, but all agree that we're in a time of immense change. You have biblical prophecy, and prophecy across all of your religious ancient texts, all of your spiritual or prophetic texts across all different, like I said, cultures. It doesn't matter. They all speak and are coming into this, they're all intersecting at the same time. We're hitting this part of history that only happens every, what they say, 10 to 12,000 years. So here's the interesting thing. You take biblical prophecy, right? And we're living in this age where it is a time of great difficulty. It speaks of a mark of the beast where you have to take the mark, or you can't buy, sell, travel, do anything like that. Now look what's going on with this COVID vaccine. And, when you talk, pardon me.
Wop, wop, wop.
Yes. When you talk about things that can fit a very broad-brushed, thing like that, you look at something like that and you say, now, wait a minute, how in the heck can that be? And then at the same time, you've got Ben Davidson coming out with the micronova, and I hate to call it a theory, because there's evidence to support it, Kev? It's not like it's a...
Well, I suppose it is a theory then, because if it didn't have evidence, it would just be a hypothesis, right?
Right.
But then there is no scientific absolute because there's always an anomaly to the theory.
True. You know what struck me the most was when he brought up aluminum 26 on the moon and the Apollo missions. And if you think about it, man, could you imagine that all of a sudden you have this, you go to the moon and you're like, damn, it had nothing to do with what they were taught. When you look into Charles Hapgood and Charles Darwin and all of these people, they fit into or are part of that scheme, if you will, that's been going on for God knows how long, to keep people dumbed down, to keep the masses out of touch, to control them. And it's been, whether it be Adam Weishaupt, straight on through to present day, there's always been that way to tamp down the truth. And I can't for the life of me figure out how this benefits them. You know what I mean? I don't. So when we look at the evidence of that, so take Mark of the Beast and what's going on right now with how travel's restricted and you might not be able to go to places unless you comply. It really becomes a conundrum. And it's more validation of what you see in the ancient texts in the Bible where it speaks of that kind of control. And it also speaks of a time where the kings of the earth will wish that the rocks will fall down upon them because of what's going on and how bad it is. So they're going into their caves. You see them digging their caves and their things in the Ozarks, right? They think that they're going to survive. They think that it's going to be their life.
No, but you see, here's the thing, right? I only hear people that are paranoid talking about the elites running to caves and stuff like that. And I only hear people that are paranoid talking about the mark of the beast because no thunderbolts and lightning coming yet. I don't see the big man coming down to smite things.
Absolutely. So. That's the thing, though, is that you have to kind of put it all in context, right? So here you have the magnetic field of the earth is weakening, and it's causing things to happen that a lot of these cultures have said will happen again. The whole mark of the beast thing, it doesn't matter. You can put that off to the side. Let's just use our eyes and see what's going on. Take religion out of it and see what's going on. Take the ice cores. Let's just take science. You see the cycles, right? And what's going on. And look at where we are. We're entering the end of a cycle and a start of a new one. And how they're finding, or how science in this incarnation of man is, and who knows, maybe the last incarnation of man were where we were at this point in time. Maybe they were like, oh, look at this. Man, this is what's going on. And maybe that's what the Black Knight satellite's all about. Who knows?
Not real. That was part of that. Not real.
Well, you get what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there is ways that you can speculate that we may not be the first species or incarnation of man to have this issue. You know what I mean?
I reckon we're probably the first to go this backcrap crazy insane.
Yeah.
Maybe we've always been this insane. We just didn't have the opportunity to observe other people in other parts of the world in real time 24/7. Maybe we've always been this mad. I don't think so, though. I really don't think so. But maybe the electromagnetic field weakening and coming down, and I totally agree that we're about to go through this micro nova, if you want to call it that. The flash, I've heard some people referring to it as the galactic wave. Whatever it is, it's going to be a pretty rough day here, down here on the planet, but I have to wonder if the weakening of the magnetic wave as well plays a part in some of the insanity. I'm smiling because remember we used to do shows with Mel and Aaron, and they would talk
Oh yeah,
about the movie
yeah.
Idiocracy.
Oh, totally, dude. Totally.
Like we're way beyond that now. Like that was
Yeah.
like that's not even funny anymore because that's like an old joke. We've gone through that. We've done a couple of really
like,
weird spin-offs from Black Mirror. We've had about 2 seasons that we've done in the real world of that.
And the wokeness, man. I mean, what is wokeness, and how does that is idiocracy on that's 1,000 times idiocracy.
Yeah.
I don't even think that they could have envisioned that.
I don't think
when they made that
we can
movie.
blame the magnetic field for that. I think we can blame the schools and the universities.
Yeah.
But could we
Yeah.
potentially blame the magnetic fields? Because if we continue to eat the pesticides and the herbicides and the additives and the preservatives and the medication that's full of all these heavy metals, and when the body cannot digest it properly, more times than not, they put these heavy metals in our brain. And so if our brain is an electromagnetic occurrence of neurotransmitters and transmitters and receivers, if they're not functioning well because they're being grounded out because of heavy metals, would not the electromagnetic frequency of the earth also have an effect on us?
So here's I'm going to give you the argument that somebody might give you here, and they say is that, well, look at humanity in the last 100 years. Humanity, for 5,000 or 6,000 years prior to this, used the horse and buggy to travel everywhere. And then in the last 100 years, with our heavy metals and better living through chemicals, we have advanced and are where we are today because of it.
Well, I would make
Reaching
the
the
argument
stars.
if we'd advance or if we've de-evolved in the last 100 years.
I wouldn't say we've devolved because, like Joe says, we've gone from the horse and cart to the billionaires strapping themselves onto really elaborate rockets and not becoming astronauts. But hey,
Yeah.
maybe our cranial capacity in some ways has maybe not blossomed the way it maybe could have. But it is
Right.
what it is.
Possibly.
Possibly, yep. We could
And maybe
speculate.
Kev, you being a Star Trek fan, do you remember the one movie Insurrection?
Yes.
So for the audience there, and spoiler, it is where a very simple ideology of a planet where they kind of said, hey, we don't need technology anymore, and they just gave up technology. But some of the inhabitants of the planet said, hey, we want to embrace technology, and they left the planet. And then they wanted to come back because the planet helped them regenerate and rejuvenate and live forever in the simplicity of it. And so they created a ship that had a hologram on it to where they were going to relocate the inhabitants, and so they could take the planet and use it for living forever. And that is where I ponder, have we evolved, because in the romanticism of my ancestors, ethnocentric thinking, look at what has happened to North America in the last 100 years, where the whole country has practically gone through deforestation. And we've dug up Mother Earth and ripped out all of these heavy metals and all of these things. For what reason? Technology, which it is a double-edged sword. And it's unfortunate that the powers that should not be have utilized technology for them to keep more power and control, and they give us just a little bit, so it helps that hopium. So, are we evolving? I'd like to hope we could, but I would still make the argument of it.
Not so majestic 12 boy was nodding away there. I thought he was ready to jump in. Look at him from the Council of 12.
Yeah, she is very much so.
Joseph
very
is
councilly.
Joe Joseph is 8 of 12, ladies and gentlemen. 8 of 12.
Why do I have to be 8?
I don't know. I'm just at 8 it is.
Because
Okay?
he looks good in that latex.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that this billionaire space race that's going on, do you think that that could possibly be a response to the idea that the sun may micronova? Do you think that they understand it and are trying to make haste, or what? What do you think?
Alternative 3.
I mean, you could look at Musk and him talking about our need to be interplanetary. And yeah, absolutely make a case there. Bezos and Branson, I don't know, dude. I don't know. That looked more like a joyride to me for Branson anyway. Of course, we've got Bezos who wants to really get into the industrial kind of side of space as well. But I think it's because they know what's going to happen with the sun. I would imagine they've probably got underground kind of bunkers or things in their mansions anyway for any type of...
I guess.
Yeah, they've probably got locations here they could see that out without getting off-world, you know?
That famous vertically challenged individual, not you, Kev, but had that funny mustache. You know, it was proven that he had a goal to get back to Mars, that he wanted to go back to Marduk. And that was part of, you know, their claim of trying to make these ships.
The guy couldn't even take Britain, let alone Marduk.
Marduk? Oh, for God's sake. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah. Well, the other thing is, maybe, I guess we're up against a break, right?
We are, actually. Yeah, I just noticed that there. Just noticed that. But now it's got me thinking the bell. Das Glocke. That's what we need, dude. That's what these billionaires need. They need to go up in the bell. That would shut everyone the F up, wouldn't it? There you go. We'll be back after these short messages. Don't go anywhere. There we go. We are still on the tubulars. The lube crew are on the YouTube.
Lube crews.
The lube crew.
So think about this, right? So they figure out it. Okay, we figure out that, man, we just got to make sure that we're orbiting the Earth when this thing passes on the other side so that we don't get cooked. And then we're outside of the damage while everybody's in an ice age. We're up here in our freaking space station. And oh, by the way, gotta love the Daily Star, gold mine asteroid in our solar system is full of metals worth quadrillions. So we'll just go ahead and capture this here asteroid. Don't worry about it. We've got plenty of resources to make all the boards, the chips, the gold that we need to do what we got to do, because we can just capture this asteroid. I don't know, guys. The more that I look into this, why is Jeff Bezos so damn desperate to get the lunar contract? Why?
I just think that's going to be part of the next big industrial boom. It's part of that next, you know.
I know, but I mean, do you think that he's truly that shallow?
I don't know.
I guess he is truly that
I'd imagine
shallow.
Bezos probably is.
I don't think Musk is. You understand what I'm saying? Like
I said, he seems to be very kind of open, or at least he talks about his plans.
Plugged in.
Yeah.
But didn't both of them get millions and millions of dollars from America to assist them in the space race?
Yeah, to some extent, but now if you take a look at what was bid, right? SpaceX won the contract, and exclusively because they bid $2.6 billion to get to the moon with their Starship.
And it's viable. It's viable.
Absolutely, but you got Jeff Bezos stomping around because his $5.6 billion bid was, of course, inferior, didn't do what Starship can do, and he's stomping around saying, well, it's utilizing a lot of unknown technologies, and there's a lot of unknowns there. And all I could think of is, what did these people in the 60s and the 50s and 60s, what were they like when it was truly unknown? And then you take a look at the technology that Bezos is using, and it's all stuff from the 60s and 70s. You know, it's nothing that really is anything viable to advance the concept of humanity kind of pushing out to the moon, or if we can even do that. You know,
Is not the race predicated on the landing system? Because I thought that's what the big argument is how do you land on the moon, which is strange in itself, because if we went there, you know, in the 60s, then I thought we already knew how to land on the moon.
Well, here's the thing. We may have known how to land on the moon with that particular equipment, but you're going to be using an entirely new AI-driven rocket. You know, that's totally different. I don't know how the hell that works, but it's a moot point. Look at the moon. They went up there and they saw, holy crap, when this thing went, when the sun went micronova, the moon got bombarded. It got cooked. There's plenty of evidence. Everywhere they went, it was full of glass. And
yet somehow at Göbekli Tepe, they knew to fill in the vast
They knew to bury it, and fast. They knew that, holy crap, something's bad's coming, right?
Here we go, dude. That's a good place to start.
Yeah, great place.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are going into hour number 2 on today's Freaky Friday. And don't forget, next week, it is Friday the 13th, and we will have Brent Thomas with us here on Freaky Friday. And then some of us will be debunking over, or debussing, or moving platform, or shifting over to the Paranormal portal to bring you not 3 hours, but 5 hours of non-stop woo. So that's next week right here, kicking off at the normal time of midnight in the UK, 7 p.m. on the East Coast, at 4 p.m. on the West Coast. Now, these boys, we were continuing talking about the moon during the break, and Joe brought up something that he had brought up previously, and in the fact that there's evidence on the moon to support this solar flash, the crust, if you will, exploding off the surface of the sun, the galactic wave, call it what you may. But Joe, I was just, before we came back there, what's even more magical and mysterious about this potentially last time we had this flash happen is my favourite archaeological site, Göbekli Tepe, and the fact that somehow they had the foreknowledge to cover up, to fill in, and basically, you know,
preserve it.
How you would do that. My head even kind of explodes thinking about this engineering to not only make it, but then to fill it in again.
But that's my point, is that they had the technology to do so. Just like we have evidence that there are not only pre-flood, but like 10,000, 12,000 years ago, objects that we even today we can't do. So it speaks of a time when, you know, there were wizards and there were the ability to control matter in ways that we can't comprehend right now. And there were different species. Maybe there is some truth to the elves, the halflings, the dwarfs, and all of that stuff. You know, you have to consider that as being some sort of truth. Where would this just all come from? You know what I mean? With no frame of reference at all. And typically when you look into it, it comes from the ancient oral records. And it's funny to see so many people that once they start to go down that road and look at all these civilizations, and maybe we'll go over a little bit of that tonight, you know, just to get into some of that ancient lore, because it's fascinating stuff and it speaks of an age long gone, but of a totally different world, one where there was totally different capabilities of humans, of different creatures, of different things that live that don't live anymore. It's fascinating. And yeah, and it's a 10 to 12,000 year cycle. So Göbekli Tepe, an unbelievable structure, something that if you take what Darwin and Hapgood and all these people are saying, mainstream science says that can't be, that they didn't have the tools then or the knowledge then. They were just basically cavemen. How could they build Göbekli Tepe 10,000, 12,000 years ago?
Isn't there meant to be a site in Turkey that's rumored to be a contender for Garden of Eden? Is there a site in Turkey? The only reason I bring that up is because
there's one for the Ark. Yeah, that's the. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm not sure, but there's a TV show. Again, it's a TV show, so don't think I'm telling anyone here it's a documentary or factual. But it's a Turkish-made show, and it centers around Göbekli Tepe. It's called The Gift, and they kind of have Göbekli Tepe as the center of the world, as in that's where the first man and first woman come from, that part of the world. And when you look at that part of the world, whether it's the Ark there, you're looking at a real hotbed, a real kind of
doubt.
A hot zone when it comes to one of these starting points, one of these.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can make the case, for the Great Pyramids.
Yeah.
Another hot zone, right? But I think you're absolutely right that there's areas, we know that they built things around ley lines, right? So they had some sort of concept about ley lines and what they do. How they use them, I have no idea. But I can tell you that they knew about them. Why else would they build their structures around them? So they utilize technology that right now we don't understand. And if we do understand it, it's certainly not down at our level, buddy.
No.
Even if you take a look at the major cities in North America, you can find out that a lot of these major cities were the remains of ancient cities of the indigenous people that were held in high regards, whether you want to call them holy places or sacred places. It just was the fact that civilization has been building on top of past civilizations.
Yeah, that's right. What about that wall down in Texas? I think Davidson
the
brought that up.
rock wall, yes.
Right? How did that get there? Oh, it's natural. My ass, it's natural. That's like saying up in the mountains down in South America where you have those unbelievable megalithic walls where you can't even fit a slit of paper through because it's crazy. Yeah, that's a natural formation. Come on, dude.
Well, even like off the coast of Scotland and the United Kingdom, you find these ancient walls under the water. Off the coast of Florida, you find the same thing. Do either of you gentlemen remember Robert Ghostwolf? Robert Ghostwolf was talking about up in the mountains of Colorado. He found these ancient statues of monumental sizes that showed like a Egyptian type or ancient I think one of them was like a griffin, if I recall off the top of my head, but it goes back to the whole thing of there's plenty of evidence that supports civilizations of the past. But then my question goes, what about these monoliths on the moon or the monoliths on Mars when they talk about Cydonia, to the east of the face on Mars? So
when you look at this stuff, Naysay, this micronova concept, feasibly speaking, you could have had Venus. Venus could have had life at one point in time, and things took a wrong turn at the last micronova, and now, it's where it's at. I truly think that you could have had life on Mars, that there could have been civilizations, and I think that there's no way you can predict exactly how it's going to unfold. Like that map, Kev, you know, it's all well and good, but it's just somebody's speculation as to where and how it's going to unfold.
This one here,
right?
this map here in particular, this is the rock
That's
wall.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Look at that.
It's
Look at right
vast.
angles.
Yep.
Yes, and it's totally natural.
Yep.
100%. That's right, and it's huge, right? So it also speaks to, and even Native Americans down there, you know, when the how, and they hand the hand, they're counting fingers because of the 6 fingers. I mean, you had giants that were eating Native Americans and tribes. They were cannibals, and the red-headed cannibals, you know, that would go and eat them. It's crazy.
Extracurricular carnivorous activity.
It's 19th century, damn it. It's history, AI.
So what do your people say about the giants, Nacy? Was there any friendly ones?
Well, of course, I always talk of the Anishinaabe, but the claim was back then that a Anishinaabe man was over 7 feet tall and the women were over 6 feet tall. So when the early explorers came here from Europe, they talked about the giants of the Anishinaabe people. And then when you look at the Iroquois Confederacy, where 5 civilized tribes gathered together in a treaty, the reason why they came together in a treaty is they said, hey, if the Anishinaabe try to claim any more territory that they have, we are going to band together and hold them back because my people were considered giants. But in our legends and in our lore, we talk about even bigger entities than we were that survived the last cataclysmic,
Right.
you know, like Joe was talking. You know, there's always going to be a few that are going to survive. You know, like even if you look at the Noah story and the claim that I'm losing the name of them, the Nephilim, that some of the Nephilim survived the flood. You know, which makes sense. You know, there's going to be a few people that survive, and if they survive, they're either going to hide in the woods, whether they be of the Bigfoot nature, or possibly dogmen or werewolf or shapeshifters or any of these other. I'd like to think that unicorns are there somewhere on Jurassic Park Island. Unicorn Island.
They're in Scotland.
Well, at least on speculation.
We've got the unicorns here. Definitely. We've got a premium on unicorns in Scotland. Yes, indeed. Indeed. What's this you're sending now, Joe? The Loch Ness Monsters have been spotted again.
You didn't know it, but Nessie's been spotted.
All right.
I'm telling you, bro, this is not... Something's going on here. I think it has to do with the magnetic field.
Think so. Second time in 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you get word of this?
I didn't get word of this one.
Why
no.
have you not gotten word of this? You live there, for God's sake.
I don't.
Look at
I
this.
don't. I don't live. I don't live.
Because when he was at the lock, he had to sign an NDA with Nessie that he wouldn't reveal that she is actually a he.
Yeah.
I see. So what you're saying is Nessie actually works for the Trump organization.
Probably, yeah.
Ooh.
Probably is bought and paid for by the Trump organization.
I would say, yeah.
Or Coca-Cola.
Anyway, according to the Daily Star, it says retired delivery driver Colin Veacock from Aintree was scanning the Loch Ness with his binoculars near Urquhart Castle. Urquhart Castle. When he saw something in the water about 2/3 across. Gary Campbell, keeper of the official Loch Ness Monster Sightings Register. Yeah, there is one. I didn't realize.
Oh, there is. See that? You see, usually I take my reports from there, but I must have taken my eye off the ball or off the
Perhaps.
monster. Yes.
Anyway, he says he accepted the sighting on record, saying Colin initially thought the unidentified swimming object was a foot high and some 5 feet long. However, he then later assessed the size as 2 foot high and 10 to 12 feet long when Gary Campbell asked him to embellish. I mean, when Gary Campbell took the report. So Colin was even able to sketch out a photo. What he saw actually helped bring the sighting to life. It says here that the 8th glimpse of Nessie was registered on July 19th by a man and his daughter, with Colin's sighting coming just 11 days later on July 30th. Gary Campbell said a cruise boat had passed some 20 minutes earlier, but that there was no boat activity at the time of the sighting. On June 2nd, Kev, a teenage visitor from Cambridge witnessed the 7th sighting of the year, not far from where Colin did. According to Gary, he glimpsed Nessie for about 2 seconds and then described what he saw, looking like a turtleback. All of the other 6 sightings this year have been by the Loch's webcam. That's right. There's a webcam. And on that webcam, by God, you can see Nessie with your own 2 eyes.
It's dodgy. It's one of those ones because it's a webcam and it kind of updates every few seconds. There's a bit of pareidolia can kick in, man.
So would you say it's more like a deer camera? Like if you're like a wildlife camera that just takes a still?
No. It's like one of these. It's like you can go to most cities around the world and watch webcams of cities. Yeah. It's one that's up. It's on the west side of the loch, looking down into one of the major parts. You know, there's a couple actually.
Here's a question I have for Joe, because he's ex-Navy also. When I was in the Navy, there was a time when me and a Singleman's, we were out at night and we saw something in the sky where we were just like, what the heck? And we went into the Singleman's shack and we talked to the chief that was there. And we said, hey, we just saw something, you know, and what do we do about it? And the 2 chiefs, they were, a senior chief and the chief for the Singleman were talking there, before we came in there, and they both looked at each other and smiled, and they said, wait a minute, don't say anything. And so they went and flicked on the scanner, the speaker for the watches that are posted around the ship. And they said, listen to see if anybody else is going to say something about it. Nobody said anything about it. And so they said, just be quiet. Don't bring it up. And we're like, well, why? We saw it. He said, if you report this, and then they explained to us of what's going to happen if we report it. And so I bring this up because I think about these individuals that will come out and say, hey, we saw Nessie. What is going through their minds, looking at the full spectrum, where some of them might just make it up for the attention of it, but then there's those that actually see something and they're struggling, like, if I come forward with this, how is the rest of the world going to look at me? And so that's my question to Joe. Being out in the oceans, have you had that occurrence, where you witnessed something, and did you share it?
My watch station was inside the ship, so I didn't see a whole lot, except for maybe going out every once in a while at night just to look out, because you don't understand the darkness until you go out on the sea or out in the ocean when there's no light pollution whatsoever. You can see just about everything. And
absolutely.
But yeah, I totally get it. Like the bureaucracy, the paperwork, the BS, it's crazy.
Living in Fort Augustus, I can tell you right now, most, if not, well, I can't say all, but I would say over 90% of the sightings that have been made by locals, they don't go running to the newspaper. They don't go telling anyone about it. So there's a whole lot more anecdotal evidence up there.
Well,
there's a number of reasons they don't go running talking about it. A, some people are going to laugh at you. B, you'll be the monster guy until the next guy sees the monster.
Yeah.
So it's like human nature, I suppose. whether you're on a Navy ship or whether you live near one of these woo hotspots or you just randomly encounter a bit of woo paranormal somewhere. I would imagine there's probably a whole lot of people who have got a whole heap of interesting experiences. And again, just because they've experienced something doesn't mean that it's automatically paranormal or supernatural.
True.
Could be misidentified, you know, it could be something they just didn't recognize at the time. But yeah.
So let me say this. Let me say this, Kev. This is important because it ties into what you're saying. When people have to make these reports, like this guy here with Nessie, he does so as an individual, right? He has fear and trepidation as an individual to come forward and say what he feels he saw for fear that the crowd is going to make him a black sheep, a pariah, whatever, because of him being batshit crazy, because you saw Nessie. But the flip side is, if he's not alone, right, and has more people with him and comes forward, he's going to feel empowered. He's got people behind him. He's got witnesses. You know, there's more credibility to it. And then the crowd readily accepts him. Or they become, the crowd becomes them. It becomes common. It gets integrated into the crowd behavior or into the mass mind. And that's the thing to understand. That is a classic example of how people would behave differently as an individual than they would in the crowd. And the people that make the decisions, which is really corporations, at the highest level you have these people, these billionaires that run corporations, and through these corporations, they control the masses. And Bernays kind of put that all forth and gave them the way forward to be able to do that. So they do. And it shows the power that they have over the masses and how much power the masses have over the individual. It's very hard to speak your mind and to be open and honest out there because you instantly become a black sheep and a pariah.
You see all the time. This is why social media has become such a really effective tool to change people's behaviors. Because if people start seeing that what they're posting or what they're talking about isn't met with validation and attaboys from their particular filter bubble, people start to lie. People will tailor their life to get that reality that brings them
that instant gratification. Yeah. Very much so. And so it has become something, it's like you say.
But there's another thing we could take from the group as well that ties it back into the woo. And I think Loch Ness is one of these places we could use as an example of this. I don't even know if there's a right name for it, but it gets into the whole kind of tulpa-mancy, the thought form. There's only a few places on Earth that when you mention it, you automatically go to the paranormal. And Loch Ness is one of those places most people will automatically think of the monster. Then you've got hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people a week, all going there. Maybe some of them have waited all their life to come to Loch Ness just for a week or two looking for it. And you've got all that attention poured in. You've got all that energy going into this thing, whatever it is, that I think sometimes, albeit I also think there's something supernatural there, I think the thought form takes over as well. And I think it almost feeds into the supernatural, the paranormal undertones of that area, because I don't think you can really appreciate Loch Ness until you've been there. Because, you've got the Nessie thing, but there's a feeling. There's an atmosphere. If you're looking for like a peak woo, that's your place. Now you could argue that maybe Crowley been up there, maybe what he opened, what he done, maybe that all ties into it. Absolutely could. But then I ask myself, well, why did Crowley choose there? Because in the end of the day, even he said, well, it was a magical place where monsters already allegedly roam, so why wouldn't I go there? So is it just one of these naturally energetic type of vortex places on the planet that maybe the ancients knew about? You can certainly make a case for the ancients knowing something special about Loch Ness, because when the loch was 70 feet lower, people were building stone circles in there. Unless they were going down with deep sea diving and diving gear on and doing it when it was the current levels. So that tells me there's been a lot of activity, a lot of convergence of ley lines, a lot of mountains as well. This is the Highlands of Scotland. And NASA often talks about, and we mentioned it last week with the Australians as well. When you get these mountains, it's almost like a natural stargate, whether it's the crystalline and the rock. Indigenous peoples have always talked about how they're almost like coming and goings for star people, star beings, craft, things like that. So is it when you live in one of these mountainous type regions, you got all that under your feet? And again, with it being the Great Glen, you're talking about an old fault line as well. I mean, does that open up energies and woo and dimensions?
I'm sure it, I'm
See
sure
what I'm
it
saying?
does,
It's like
buddy.
that whole place.
Yeah.
And you get groups of people going there, feeding it every week of the year, feeding
Well, of
into it,
course. Yeah, and that's the thing, is you see these layers of all of these things that affect, right? That affect our reality. It's amazing. It truly is. That's why, when we got into quantum and all that good stuff over the years, it really shows just how complex and wacky, and as Einstein said, spooky, it truly is. It's I can't get my head wrapped around it. I'll be quite
I still
honest.
think, as much as I would love all the bigger questions in the universe to be answered for me, I still think there's a limitation to what our quantum computer can really do. And it's like asking people to crack consciousness. So you're asking a brain really to explain itself. Maybe a brain can't explain itself. Maybe you've got to be outside of a brain to explain the true workings of a brain. Maybe you can't see the brain for being in the brain. I know this sounds all weird, but I think Joe's nodding. NASA will probably get where I'm coming from. Maybe
I
we
get
just
it.
don't have that computing power to... Like, we talk about dimensions and timelines, like we know that that's a thing. But we're guessing. We're guesstimating
it's
at the
all
best of times.
speculation.
Exactly, dude. Exactly. And that's why I wonder if once you're outside of the brain, i.e. the consciousness is uncoupled and you're going to wherever level 2 is, you look back and you go, oh, you got to be kidding me. Is that what it was all about?
Oh yeah, or well, boy, we nuked that one. Oh man.
Yeah. Who knows, man? Who knows?
Well,
I tell you
even-
what. The only thing I can guarantee, NASA, is two things. We'll be back after these short messages. And Paranormal Portal will be coming up after Freaky Friday. There you go. I got two things
You
right. We'll be
don't
back
say.
after the break. There you go. Yes, I was going to say the only two things you can guarantee in life are death, and we'll be back after the break, but I got it all wrong, dude. I got
Hey, it
all wrong.
worked.
It came out all wrong, man. Now, I don't know whether to put NASA in charge of you or you in charge of NASA while I go make a coffee. I'm scared to step away, man. I'm scared to step away. I've been sitting here. I've put a peg on the end of my man. I'm getting ready to put a catheter in because I don't know if I can trust you guys on YouTube.
I was funny because I was just gonna get up and go do
Right,
that.
I'm going to
but
put
it's
music
okay.
on for 2 minutes and then we'll come back. Right, how's that sound?
That's good. I like that.
I like that as well. Bear with me. I'll get the music open. Go do your thing. I'll be back. Naysay, I'll be back in a second as well, man.
I'll take opportunity also to
Yes.
roll across the room.
Ah, nice. Take your time. Right, where is Freaky? Where did it go? There we go. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're back. We are live. I'm Kev Baker. We got Joe Joseph coming to us from the very cartoonish looking studio he's got there on Skype. And the man, the myth, the legend, it is Nacy. So Nacy, before the break, I was kind of getting into just a little kind of taster of what Loch Ness and the surrounding area is like. You can't do it justice by sitting here just talking about it. You've really got to experience it. It's a weird and wonderful place, magical, dare I say it. But what place is it for you? If you had to choose one cryptid, one haunted location, one ancient site, what's the place that really, really ignites that fire in you, Nacy?
Well, the area that really hit me on the woo level is where the historical Fort Snelling is built between Minneapolis and St. Paul. And allegedly at one time it was a huge area to where the Lakota, Dakota, Nakota people and the Anishinaabe had a huge settlement where thousands and thousands of indigenous people or Paleo Americans hung out. And at one time there was an island down below the fort where they held a bunch of Native Americans as prisoners during the uprising. And so the eeriness there, and then along the Mississippi River as you go into St. Paul, and you find these sand caves. And then you go into, I used to party in these sand caves when I was in high school without even knowing that they were utilized by the indigenous people, way back in the day. And then right up on the bluff or up on the hill across from the caves, you have Mounds Park in St. Paul. And it's called Mounds Park because there's Native American burial mounds along those parks. And so that whole river bottom area stuff is just so magical. And it has that whole nostalgia, romanticism because of my upbringing and heritage. But I'm really excited because there are plans in the works, and I brought this up before, that I might be able to finally make it to the Serpent Mound for this coming up equinox. Fingers crossed.
Ooh, tell us more. What's in the works, dude? If we talk about it more, it may manifest.
Well, I'm attempting to approach my tribal historian. We have pipes that have been of other elders of like 100 years old, and I'm trying to figure out how to ask them if I may incorporate these pipes with my own pipe and doing ritual or ceremony at the Serpent Mound or the Snake Mound in the Ohio River Valley.
Ooh.
Because according to our teachings, my ancestors, the Anishinaabe, they built the Serpent Mound. And just the idea, well, the latest term that's used is people are calling it downloads. And I have shared before that when I do my ceremonies and rituals, my fasting and stuff like that, I feel that I am more open to these downloads. And I have been getting downloads about the Serpent Mound now for the last 2.5 years. And so to try to make this come into fruition, that is the absolute goal, to be there to see if there's something to witness.
Jocelyn Richardson donated $5 through Super Chat. Just because.
No, Jocelyn, just because we love you. There you go. There you go. Well, Nacy, you're talking. I've got something nice I can play here in the background for us to listen to. And this is one of the latest Hopi prophecy that I could find from Floyd Red Crow Westerman. It's about the apocalypse. Would you like to hear that, Nacy?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so here we go. Here we go, folks. Let's take a listen to this.
Time evolves and comes to a place where it renews again. There is first a purification time, then there is renewal time. We are getting very close to this time now. We were told that we would see America come and go. And in a sense, America is dying from within because they forgot the instructions on how to live on earth. Everything is coming to a time where prophecy and man's inability to live on earth in a spiritual way will come to a crossroad of great problems. It's the Hopi belief, it's our belief that if you're not spiritually connected to the earth and understand the spiritual reality of how to live on earth, it's likely you will not make it. When Columbus came, that began what we term as the First World War. That was the true First World War when Columbus arrived. Because along with him came everybody from Europe. By the end of the Second World War, we were, in America, we were only 800,000. From 60 million to 800,000. So we were almost exterminated here in America. Everything is spiritual. Everything has a spirit. Everything was brought to you by the Creator, the one Creator. Some people call him God, some people call him Buddha, some people call him Allah, some people call him other names. We call him Tonkashila, grandfather. We're here on earth only a few winters. Then we go to the spirit world. The spirit world is more real than most of us believe. The spirit world is everything. Over 95% of our body is water. And in order to stay healthy, you've got to drink good water. When the European first came here, Columbus, we could drink out of any river. If the Europeans had lived the Indian way when they came, we'd still be drinking out of water because the water is sacred. The air is sacred. Our DNA is made of the same DNA as the tree. The tree breathes what we exhale. When the tree exhales, we need what the tree exhales. So we have a common destiny with the tree. We are all from the earth. And when the earth, the water, the atmosphere is corrupted, then it will create its own reaction. Mother is reacting. In the Hopi prophecy, they say the storms and floods will become greater. To me, it's not a negative thing to know that there will be great changes. It's not negative. It's evolution. When you look at it as evolution, it's time. Nothing stays the same. You should learn how to plant something. That's the first connection. You should treat all things as spirit. Realize that we are one family.
One family, ladies and gentlemen. We're all connected and all having our own individual journey within this crazy matrix, but all connected.
Not according to cathode ray tube, we're not.
Well, I'm telling you, dude, you can't beat a bit of the Hopi. Can't beat a bit of that. What did you make of that, Nacy, listening to that, man?
Well, I think it could be easily argued that when we take the moments to look specifically within the cell makeup, that you'll find those same building blocks at that microcosm are throughout this existence, whether it be of the trees, of the rocks, you know, and I'll even go further and just say it's electromagnetic fields. And this goes into that simplification of positive, neutral, and negative. Because when you go into a magnet and you find the center of a magnet and that darkness, as you look deeper into that darkness, all of a sudden at one point you'll see light. So as above, so below, depending on your perspective of where we denote the positive side of the magnet or the negative side of the magnet. And it just comes down to how do we find that balance, that neutrality. And we're so caught up in that oscillation back and forth, that we don't take those moments to be absolutely here in this precious moment with Kev Baker, Joe Joseph, TFR, and the wonderful people out there in YouTube world. So Miigwech, thank you for being the miraculous perfection of unique individualism, because I'm excited to be here.
No, absolutely. I'm just as excited, dude. And this time last week, we were all the way down under, right? What an absolutely amazing show. But I've just noticed also going out live right now is my good friends. And yes, I can say that now. It's Stephen and Evan Strong, the Out of Australia theory. Let us just listen to a little bit of this for a moment.
Telling the truth. And I said to him, so how, what does it feel like when the difference? And he said, when they're lying, I go all cold. And when they tell the truth, I feel warm. That was how he discerned.
I actually really liked that comment you made at halfway through that when you said that the parents of the children know when their children lying better than anyone else because they're born with them.
So they're talking to somebody called, today they have got on somebody called Mary Rodwell, the alien lady. Oh, I think we'll be having a future guest with that individual there, Mary Rodwell. But yeah, I'm really enjoying, obviously, the whole woo coming from down under, getting to know more about our ancient roots, our ancestral knowledge that in many cases, like the original people in Australia, like the Paleo Americans, Jimmy Jeans was on the show just 2 nights ago on KBS, and he was talking about how some information is passed down lip to ear. It's not the kind of stuff you're ever going to find on the internet. In fact, dare I use that word, it's for the initiate. Yes, it's the kind of stuff that we would maybe sometimes think they hid away in the mystery schools, but actually, a lot of this knowledge, and Nacy, you'll be able to speak to this, a lot of this knowledge is still all out there. It's just that over time and with everything that's gone on in history, sometimes us white fellas maybe not as privy to this information as others. And that's why, Nacy, it's not lost on me when we do these trips down under. I honestly can't explain, I can't put into words what that's like for somebody like me, because I really do appreciate that this is information that maybe up until this point, this moment in time, this part of the cycle, people like me, people like the audience, we weren't getting to hear this kind of real ancient knowledge. So I have to thank you for the part that you play in all of this as well, dude. Yep.
Well, we keep putting out the clues, and we try to show people the treasure map to where X marks the spot. And if you can find your way to Speculation Island and take those moments to dig up that buried treasure that we've left behind or in front of us, you'll see maybe from your third eye that it's way simpler than we tend to make it. We always want to make it simplex. And that's where the challenge is. I like to say, keep it simple. I am stupid.
Yeah, I just say keep it simple, stupid. Yep. I think I actually picked that one up in the army. Maybe it's a part of our military mind control, Kev.
Oh yes, pounding the pavement up to and touching the line where Mother Nature doesn't make lines. Mother Nature is all about curves and spirals.
It certainly doesn't make rock walls in Texas, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
The Bosnian Pyramid, that's another one that they try and speak away as being like a natural formation. But I tell you, if that's natural, then look, okay, I'm no scientist. I'm a pseudoscientist on a good day when I'm lucky. But I don't know. It doesn't look very it doesn't look very natural. The old Bosnian pyramid, some of the stonework there either, right?
Well, yeah, and then you get into the ancient Andes, and you get to Peru, and these other South American places, and the monolithic, around the world are abundant. But again, we get caught up in the stimulation, and is it possible that some of us are afraid to dig deeper than just the tip?
I
Who's
honestly
willing to
don't
go
think.
beyond?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I don't know if people are afraid to go beneath the tip. I don't. I think you can still come here to this planet, have your life, live it really well, do really good things, be really, really kind of on the positive side of things, without ever having to look into some of the mysteries and some of the woo that we look at. I don't think us doing the research is a prerequisite or some kind of box that has to be ticked before we make it to level 2. Does that make sense, Nacy?
Oh, absolutely. And this is the beauty about the individual, that you have that right in your mere existence to hold on to what you think, what you feel, and what you believe. And if we could just respect each other for that miracle that you are, that I am, and just respect it, and then come together, where I again bring up the whole dichotomy of positive and neutral, or positive, neutral, and negative. If you're on one spectrum and I'm on the other spectrum, can we at least respect each other and look what's between us, and not get to the point of where we have to be like, do you have 5 fingers? Do you have 10 toes? Is your hair red? Is your skin yellow? Is your skin purple? We get so caught up in that, instead of looking at, hey, you bleed, I bleed, we're all here. We all might get the same reward in the end, death, to go on beyond what's next.
Indeed. I am coming back to haunt people. I have decided, I have signed up for the ghost program on level 2. I will be inducted when I see the light. No, I am. No, I hear what you're saying, man. Where's Joe Joseph hiding? Joe Joseph is hiding in the background.
Oh, I'm right here. I got my invisibility cloak on. That's all.
It's like that useless website I went to look at on a stream recently.
Absolutely.
Yep, the invisible drone website. Yep, stealth drones.
Yeah. Nah, hey, you know what, man? For anybody out there that does want to avoid this whole catastrophe, you do have an opportunity.
Like, are you with me then? Are you with me then, Joe? That this flash, this galactic wave, this micronova.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there. I'm convinced it's going to happen.
I'm convinced of it. Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm living in fear, though. I'm not going to hide under the table.
No, don't care.
Yeah, I'm going to take some kind of positive maneuvers to try and counteract whatever changes may come our way.
That's fine. In the meantime, though, if you want to live on Mars, you can pretend and get ready for it, prepare, train. According to the Associated Press, it says you want to pretend to live on Mars for a whole year, you can apply now. Because to prepare for the eventuality of being an astronaut on Mars, NASA is taking applications for 4 people to live a year in Mars Dune Alpha. And that's a 1,700 square foot Martian habitat created by a 3D printer and inside a building at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. So, yes, it's not really living on Mars. It's more like living inside a building. It's like
living on the set of Capricorn 1.
For a year.
Ooh, good callback.
Oh, great movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
The paid volunteers, it says, will work in a simulated Martian exploration mission complete with spacewalks, limited communication back home, restricted food, and resources and equipment, and also equipment failures. So they're going to be, troubleshooting and given scenarios to overcome these issues. Oh my gosh. It says NASA is planning on 3 of these experiments, with the first one starting in the fall of next year. Food will all ready to eat space food. At the moment, there are no windows planned in the habitat, so that kind of sucks. Some plants will be grown, but not potatoes like the movie The Martian by Matt Damon. And it says we want to understand how humans perform in these habitats, which is great, I guess, if you think that this is a realistic solution to anything, but whatever. The application process opened today, and there is a bunch of requirements that are needed for you to even think about applying. Okay, so for one, it says that you need to have a master's degree in science, engineering, or math, or pilot experience. Only American citizens or permanent U.S. residents are eligible. Applicants have to be between 30 and 55, in good health, and with no dietary issues, and not prone to motion sickness. Well, I'm out. Let's see. That shows that NASA's looking for people who are close to astronauts, said former Canadian astronaut. Did you know that Canadistan has an array of astronauts, Kev?
I do know.
Yeah, Chris Hadfield. And he said, that's a good thing because it's a better experiment if the participants are more similar to the people who would really go to Mars. Past Russian efforts at a pretend Mars mission called Mars 500, didn't end well, partly because the people there were much like everyday people. So he said, for the right person, this could be great, said Hadfield, who spent 5 months in orbit in 2013 at the International Space Station, where he played guitar and sang a cover of David Bowie's Space Oddity. Hooray. Just think how much you're going to be able to catch up on Netflix, he said. If they have a musical instrument there, you could go in there knowing nothing and come out a concert musician if you want. I mean, if you think about it, I guess it's like an isolation chamber, really. And yeah, I guess you could, if that's your shtick and that's what you need to do. But he said there also can be a very high demand, and said attitude is key. He had the novel The Apollo Murders with him when it came out in the fall. He said that the participants need to be like Damon's Watney character, super competent, resourceful, and not relying on other people to feel comfortable. So if you're that person in America, that go-getter, Mars might be for you. Check it out.
I'll do
Do you
it.
think it's gonna become a reality television show or Pauly Shore's
It may.
biosphere?
Who knows? It may.
I'll do it. I'll take one for the team. It's only a year.
Oh, put me on a rocket ship and I'll go check out Mars.
I'm willing to go and do the fake Mars and the biodome. Yeah, I'll go and do the biodome, man. Grow a big beard for a year.
And you know, in the next hour, Kev, we can get into how humans. Now, this is where science is going on multiple different fronts, and this is where it gets interesting, because why are there so many scientists pushing for ways that humans have to survive mass extinction level events? You know, where what's all the focus here on that? That's the question. But when we come back from the break, humans could recolonize Earth after mass extinctions with ectogenesis. Slime?
Is that an arc?
Yeah, very kind of sort of a slime arc.
Did you say slime, Joe?
Yeah, a slime arc. Yeah.
Are we just the brine that made it out the slime?
Well, you know, they do say that we came from Campbell's soup, and from Campbell's soup, we could spawn humanity again.
I like it.
Primordial ooze.
So we're gonna almost lube life back onto the planet.
Put me in a centrifuge. I want to be the lube.
They say lube on the way. Yeah,
That's awful.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I do agree with you though, Joe. There's a lot of time gets spent by some of our alleged brightest people doing this. I can only imagine that there's a lot of money getting thrown at these kind of projects. So
Yeah, and it doesn't
so
all have
who
to
are
be
they to
government
who are
money.
they to say who are they to look a big fat check in the mouth and say no? You know.
Exactly right. And it's not all government money, you know. That's the biggest thing to understand. Look at where's most of the wealth
To be
concentrated.
honest with you, I mean, I actually think it's pretty good that there is like different things taking place where people are looking at, you know, potentially things that could go wrong, how we might mitigate that, how we might come back. I don't know. I just look at the world right now and I think we need a plan B, ladies and gentlemen. We need a plan B. Whether it's slime, I don't know, but we'll be back after the break. 1 hour to go, and then we slip and slide on through the paranormal portal. We'll be right back. Slipping and a sliding through your paranormal portal this Friday is Brent
That
Thomas
really
in the
did
chat room.
not sound good at all.
It's not meant to. It's
Just
not
so
meant
you
to.
know.
One week I introduced it or kind of built it up by saying, you know, I think Brent was going to give people beyond the tip. He was going to give them more than the tip and put them right through the paranormal portal, and no lube required, Joe. No lube,
Yes.
raw.
Guess what I get to do after the show today, gentlemen?
Yeah. Are you on the
get to hang
paranormal
out
portal?
For the first hour.
Oh, talk to us, man. Talk to us. Tell us more.
Oh, well, just to try to bring some people over there with me, hopefully. You know, who am I that I am? But to check out the paranormal portal, we always encourage people to check out our dear friend Brent. And that's where I used to be, you know, periodically with Brent, and we would go into the paranormal because my world is the most unusual world that I've ever experienced. So I enjoy it.
And this time next week, right now, Brent Thomas will be right here because it'll be Friday the 13th. Technically, it'll be Saturday the 14th in the UK, but don't let date lines get in the way of anything.
Yes, and Donnie Longbeard. Hopefully he's going to be there also.
Let's hope so.
And then Scotty hopefully will join us too.
I was watching Brent last weekend at the Squatching kind of conference he was at. I seen one of the most ginormous gummy Bigfoot type feet that you could eat. I also seen chocolate bacon only in America. Only in America, man.
Oh, deep fry. Hey, they have, what is it? You know how they have like deep fried Oreos and deep fried Twinkies? Well, they had deep fried butter.
Oh, not good.
I mean, like,
contest.
What are you doing?
They have contest of what could be deep fried.
Yeah, over here in
like
Glasgow,
it's a stick of butter with it's deep fried, dude. How do you do that?
Deep fried Mars bar was how it all started over here. I don't know why. I do not know why. It's like blasphemy to food to put a Mars bar in batter. But hey, listen, each to their own, right? Each to their own. Might not rock my boat, but I'm sure people out there sitting right now going, "Ooh, could murder some deep fried Mars bar." Ooh, deep fried haggis would go down quite well right now. Bit of haggis.
Deep fried haggis.
Haggis on a stick.
Jigs.
Yeah.
Wow, are we in sync?
We are.
No, we're not the boy band.
Nice one, Joe. Nice one. I heard you're a bit of a Backstreet Boy, to be honest with you. But
Boo.
Come on, man. I couldn't resist it. Could not resist it.
Boo.
I know. I'm bad that way. What can I say, man? What can I say? Look, it is what it is, all right?
It goes far beyond one man. This needs to be fought against. This cannot be taken lying down.
Exactly.
Get up, stand up for delight.
Indeed. Oh, something on in the background there. Right, here we go, boys. Here we go. Are you going to join us on camera again, Joe? Or are you just like stealth mode? Welcome back. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend, Joe Joseph, doing his very best hamster impersonation. Although I do think he looks like a gerbil without any effort. You'd have been really good on that TV show, Grimm. See the one where the humans kind of shift?
Oh yeah, that would have been great.
Yeah, man. I don't know what animal I would make. Something with big eyes, probably.
Yeah. So hey, before the break, we were talking about.
You remembered where we were going. Good man.
I do. So before the break, we were worried about extinction level events, about jabs that inject micro robots into your.
No, Joe. No. Dude, why? Why, man?
I was just testing.
Now I have to go and edit this out afterwards. Don't be a dick.
It's a 1-2 punch. It's a boxing term. It's boxing. So you got these humans. Ectogenesis, they say, is a way that humans can avoid, not so much avoid, but survive, we'll say, the mass extinction level events. It says, lately it seems that every movie or book or video. Now, would you say, Kev, that that's part of the... Is it an interest thing, or is it being pushed?
I wrestle with this all the time, dude.
I mean, where is it coming from?
Yeah, I wrestle with this all the time. Is it predictive programming? Are they foreshadowing? Are they trying to put the idea out there so we go back to the thought form? Enough people watch it, you almost collapse all the possibilities into that one probability, that one outcome over another. Is it that the writers of movies are subconsciously, they don't realize they're doing it, but they're tapping into something akin to the Akashic Record? Maybe a future event. Maybe they think that they've come up with a unique fictional idea. That they think, wow, that's a really good storyline. That's really good. I'm glad I thought that up. Did they think it up? Or are they just maybe picking up on something from the future, but they're not interpreting as that? They don't know that you can receive ideas as, messages, as, I don't know, echoes of what's going on in reality.
Like we were talking about earlier with the, have we lost our ability, or is the quantum computer we have even capable of doing that? I think in a way we are, especially like we're talking about now, where we can receive or pick up on these things that are out there. Or maybe it's just about the way that we interpret the input.
I think a lot of this is down to how we interpret stuff.
Right?
Yep, and I think a lot of
and probably so because of the because of how the internet's kind of driven not just knowledge, but the discussion of these topics. Whereas before, you really didn't have that cohesion or that many people, even on chat boards, on YouTube, and comment sections talking about this stuff and really getting into a conversation. Before, Kev, like in the 80s and 90s, and even before that, it was a magazine. And you would write into the magazine. And it was a very long and drawn-out process. And no one really got the conversation started. But if you did, it was a local group that maybe had 6 people, a dozen people in it, and that's it. But there was never any mass like coming together, where now there's that ability through like what we're doing tonight. So it's a very different environment that creates it.
If there is a collective consciousness, because I have to say because we all kind of use this language like it's just something that we take for granted.
Like it's a thing. Right, yeah.
But if there is, then I can think we would be able to agree that at no time that we know about has there been, if we're 7 billion different experiences of that one consciousness, what happens when you have all 7.5 billion people, or the way we are in the world it is today? Never have we been bombarded 24/7 by as much data input. And if we're taking stuff in as much as we are, we've also never been connected to as many different outside cultures, different languages, different ideas. Because before the internet, we were pretty much restricted to our geographical region, apart from maybe going on holiday somewhere or somebody coming back from a holiday or watching the news. Remember, the news used to be like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's like at no other time have we been in this crazy position where all this information's flying around. We're all trying to absorb as much of it as we can. We put out as much of it. What does that do to the collective psyche, if there is such a thing?
If there is such a thing.
If I can bring in the metaphor of a magic wand, since we're all magicians, allegedly a magic wand is a tool that is utilized so that you can focus on the magic, to where you can use the wand to direct the magic. So if thinking is a electromagnetic occurrence, if the powers that should not be can collectively get us all to think and focus on this, that, or the other thing, then would we potentially be able to create it? Whether that be a shift in the paradigm or smashing the dogma, or next thing you know, enough of us have thought about Nessie that there is now a Nessie.
What do you reckon? Joe?
I would have to say that if I'm going to speculate, I would say no. I just think it is.
Hold that thought, Joe.
Jennifer P. donated $20 through Super Chat. Many thanks for helping this workaholic get through the day. Thank you, Kev Chat friends and guests.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's fantastic.
That's made my day, knowing we've made Jennifer's day. There you go.
Yeah. I would say, Kev, that I think it is a consequence of our ability to communicate. I think it's our consequence of our ability to connect through the internet. I think it's a consequence of echo chambers that we're exposed to on a day in and day out basis. I don't think it has to do with anything. I think that kind of stuff happens? Sure, but not. I don't think it's something that's just out there that we're just tapped into and that we're all connected to. No, I don't. I really, truly don't.
Yeah. Well, you remember the men that stare at goats. Would you ponder, would you believe that some branch of the government said, okay, if we get 5 people together and we have them focus on, doing this or that or the other thing for the manipulation, that doesn't work. So then let's get 10 people, 20 people, 100,000 people. If enough people focus on the specific, is it able to manifest the outcome? And this is where I ponder with the manipulation of us. There's that Chinese game, or the Japan Asia game with the cockroach, where they use like the sticks and they put the cockroach and they try to direct the cockroach to the goal. And this is where I kind of feel we are, that these powers that should not be are utilizing this, that, and the other thing to kind of guide us back and forth to the end result.
I think you give them too much credit. I think you give too much energy to them. Yeah. I think they enjoy that we think this way. I think it's not as organized as we sometimes believe. Sure, these people absolutely despise us because they literally see themselves like some kind of what would you call it? Superior species. They really do. Now, again, though, are they that in control of things? Well, I look around the planet right now, and they're pretty much struggling to get one message over another agreed on a good day. So I don't know, Nancy. Yeah. And again, I think as well, sometimes they're not that bothered that there's so many people talking about an evil cabal.
Can I be honest with you?
Because I think like real hot topics, right? Real classified stuff. I don't know how much we'd be allowed to talk about it. And people will say, but we're getting censored. Yeah, okay, but at the same time, you can still go and read lots of books about these, the Illuminati, the dastardly plans of the global elites. And I just wonder, if we're that close to what their true plan is, would they really let us kind of sit and talk about it? And I don't know.
We would not be here if we were that close.
Yeah, you see, you feel me? And I don't know. And again, Joe, I just think at times we're our own worst enemy, because we give over a lot of our power to the perceived control that these people have in many cases. In many cases, you can live your life pretty much unimpeded. Okay, sometimes you got to improvise, adapt, and overcome. You know what I'm saying? You can do.
Yeah, no, you can't. You used to be able to. Those days are gone. Those days are long gone.
The absolute freedom would be within oneself, because we can be manipulated and say, hey, we got all this freedom. We can pick Coke or we can pick Pepsi, but when it comes down to it, we still have our own individualism where we can reflect right where we are.
I truly believe that we're years away, maybe a decade at most, of a Brave New World scenario where you have civilization that advances, and then you have your outsiders. You have those that don't want to conform to what becomes mandatory societal standards, what becomes just
Mad Max, dude. It'll be like Mad Max.
I've lived it for the last 2 years. It'll
be like that movie Colony. The Colony. Remember, you liked that show Colony, where they put the big walls up around the side?
Yeah. But I mean, even the last 2 years, where.
Now remember, be careful.
No, the last 2 years it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because here, I have personal experience dealing with state entities that you can never satisfy, and you're always a problem, and it's never enough, and that's what ends up happening. If not for me, it's for everybody else, and I'm not the only guy.
I concur. I'm caught in the VA system.
VA's another. There's no amount of anything you can do to change it, as hard as you try, or satisfy it as much as you want. And so eventually people throw their hands up and say, you know what? I just don't want to participate anymore. But where do you go? See, in Brave New World, the outsiders had a place to go. They lived out in the wilderness, right? Where do the outsiders go now? Where are they going to go?
They're called terrorists.
That now these people that
Teddy Bears picnic
that don't want to do that, they're called, what did Bush call them? Terrorists. Right? That's what they become. We become those because why? Because we don't comply, Ken.
They go to the Grove.
And for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what the reason is. If it's against the woke, the echo, the whatever, forget it. If you're not with us, Kev, you're with the terrorists.
Don't do something in the real world, though. You're talking a lot about online activity there with it.
No, I'm talking about the real world. I'm talking about people that are losing their jobs because they can't comply. Because they won't comply. Because they shouldn't have to comply. But because they're being forced to comply. Or like in the case of Australia, look at what's going on down there. You think people want their lives upended? Of course not. For what? We're going to live in fear? It doesn't make any sense. It's all about individual choice. It's all about the ability to be able to, how do you say it? Does it even exist? I don't even know, dude.
Well, I just hope that at some perspective that whatever it is that is beyond our conception, that they look at us at a whole and they say, well, yeah, let's help them through this next cataclysmic event. Or if they're like saying, nope, they screwed everything up again, let's reset. There you go.
Let's reset it.
The reset. The reset? The great reset.
But is it that simple? Do you think it's that simple, Kev, that it's just a switch?
Well, it's just a switch.
The shiny red button, the reset.
Well, I think maybe the dogman.
Do you think it's like, oh yeah, it's what's the guy in the X-Files? The guy that smokes.
Mulder.
Cancer dude.
Cancer
guy.
dude, right?
Cancer.
Yeah. Do you think he's got the shiny red button?
No.
Of course not. It's not that easy, but I can tell you, working in corporate America, right, that when there's a message out there that they all love, that they all buy into, they all implement it in their little spheres, right? Their little areas of influence. So let me give you an example. Green, right? Now, it may be a long time before we can see carbon net zero. But the technology is achievable now. It's just not realistic in the corporate world. But boy, oh boy, is a good talking point. So all you hear is all of them being cheerleaders and not only trying to, how do you say it? They're pushing a narrative that may not exist, but they're getting people ready for it because they see that that's the way, it's the smart thing to do because carbon is bad. So what we have to do to correct the atmospheres, we got to be carbon neutral. Well, we can't do that right now. So what they hear terms, and that term is, oh man, that's the right term to use. We're going to use it. And then another company hears it. Oh yeah, we're going to use it, and we're going to use it, and we're going to use it. And then it catches on. And so what I find is like, it's the corporations that really drive everything. And once they hear something that works in one area, Toyota was always like a big leader in innovation, in manufacturing processes, in whittling down workforces, and all these intricate things and visions of the future. They were always by far and away like huge when it comes to that kind of stuff. And if Toyota does it, guess what? Then the next guy does it, and the next guy does it, and the next guy does it. Well, then Toyota gets a reputation throughout the industry. Oh, yeah, they're like squared away. They know what they're doing. Why? Because their profits show it. So every time Toyota does something, everybody else implements it. And it just becomes like that. It just, but these companies have now become what they call more socially, how do you call it, Kev? Socially aware of their responsibility to the planet and to humanity. So that's what it ends up being, that ends up being what I think people consider collective consciousness, but it's not that. It's just sharing ideas that work and then implementing it mass scale throughout humanity.
Well,
and because
is it possible that when we collectively stop worrying about making dollars, that we just might start making sense? Because when I bring up again the romanticism of my ancestors, we were the epitome of what you could label socialism, where the tribe worked for the tribe, where if Joe made the arrows and Bob made the arrow tips and George made the bow, and collectively all of them said, okay, I'll give you a bow if you give me an arrow, and I'll give you an arrow if you give me an arrowhead. And then when we send the expert hunters out to go collect the food, then it's the collective that was successful in providing food for the tribe. And this is where we've kind of lost that connection, where we're being divided, whether it be from this, that, or the other thing, where the unities are no longer there. and I'm guilty. I am a hypocrite because I no longer know who my neighbor is or the other person that's next door to the house next door to me. Where at one time when I first moved here, I knew everybody on the block. And we don't do this anymore. We've been so individualized.
Yeah.
We've been so focused on the id, the individual, that we continue to forget we're part of the whole. And this is where I think that collective consciousness, that epiphany could occur, is when we recognize we're all here together. So what can we do? We may not have it all together, but together we could have it all. The band will keep
is that collective consciousness, or is that just a idea that catches fire and then spreads? You know what I mean? That's the thing. Is that what? Because what's being described when you say collective consciousness is more like it's out there and we're just all plugged into the same frequency. You know what I mean? And I just don't feel like we are.
If we look at the beginning of the concept of a town or a community, where a group of people of a somewhat like-minded nature said, hey, we're all going to head out. We'll just use an example of North America. And when the dominant society came here, a group of people would say, okay, we're all going to get on this wagon trail, and we're all going to get in our covered wagons, and we're going to head out into the vast unknown, and we're going to create our community. Going back even further than that, we're taught that the Puritans, they came from the Netherlands saying, hey, we're all going to collectively go out into the unknown and create a place where all of us like-minded people are. But now, with the exponential rate of technology advancement, we have realized that the world has gotten smaller because of our ability to be technologically, collectively brought together through the internet. Right now, we have people around the world, down under and in Europe and on YouTube, where we're all coming together right now collectively. So this has become our community. And in that coming together, where could we possibly go from here to benefit everybody in the community? That's that potential is endless. The possibilities are endless.
Oh yeah, but I think that only works in a microcosm, because as soon as you start to try and take that philosophy and put it in a macro sense, a la like a state, if you will, not a community, but a state, and it gets too large, it almost becomes too bloated, and you don't have the accountability and the relationships that you had in that small sense, where on the large side, it just becomes it almost out of control and too big to handle. That's where corruption seeps in, and those naughty sides of human beings that always tend to get in the way of what we consider progress. That's the crazy thing. And I'm sure the reptilians and the Greys and all of those people out there are in aliens and extraterrestrials and demons and angels, and all of them are all laughing right now at the soap opera called Earth, because I mean, it's crazy.
I'm going to stick to my dogma that the dodo bird faked their extinction, and they are the ones that are really controlling everything. Because, I remember back in the early days, we were like, oh, it's the Trilateral Commission, it's the Council of Foreign Relations, it's the Jesuits, it's the Jews, it's the, we always kept focusing on one thing or another. And that's when I started saying the powers that should not be, because I could guarantee you that if there is this entity of negativity. They are going to proclaim that they are whatever they think you will accept, but they will continue on to do their negativity. And it's unfortunate that we are going to experience the full spectrum of humans, because we're going to have people of positivity, we're going to have people of negativity, and we're going to have people that are just going to remain neutral without taking any moments of looking that way or the other way, and just be caught in their center.
One segment to go. So after the break, we'll start to shift it into the paranormal, supernatural, and the kind of things that will get you warmed up for the Paranormal Portal right here on TFRlive.com and the Paranormal YouTube channel. So join us after the break for some alien abduction woo. Here we go, gents. There we go. One segment to go.
Wow.
Yes, PPP. Indeed. Get your
Another
aliens
quick one.
lined up, Joe. Get your aliens. We like a bit of alien abduction. Although, I tell you that the hottest kind of controversy in ufology right now is whether or not the Travis Walton story was true or faked. Ooh.
Did I ever share?
You're muted up, Joe. But sorry, Nacy.
No, what do you think?
I've always, like I'd said on the stream yesterday, for me, it's always been one of my favorites, I must admit. But
it is hands down the most believable to me.
But at the same time, there's other people who have come forward who have said they were there and it was part of a hoax. And I don't know, I always talk about having to really kind of stress test the things that you believe in most, even when it makes you feel uncomfortable. And I watched a little bit of Travis Walton being interviewed today, and Ask Me Anything, audience questions, stuff like that. And I really don't know. I was leaning towards it being a LARP, a hoax, as much as that really shocked me. But now having listened to Travis again, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm just I'm on the fence with it. I want it to be real.
Compare that to that pesky letter in the alphabet.
Oh, like it's not the same.
But I mean, no, but I guess what I say is that pesky little letter in the alphabet is what captured the minds of how many people, right?
Yeah, but it was like mimetic warfare, dude. There's a lot of work went into the back end of that.
I wonder if we can get Rock and Rio to check out Travis Walton's latest interview and see what may be there.
I still don't know. I'm on the fence about that reverse speech, dude. I must admit.
I am too. I don't. Really
sometimes it's really clear and maybe, but other times I don't know.
I know. I can't. I don't get what half of the people say. Even when
I like listening to those shows. I mean, I'll always give it time, but again,
like our buddy, the Ghost of Carmel, Maine. Yeah. Up there, right? So when you've got the good visual stuff, because he's got so much of that, and great, but the box thing, I could never get what he was like.
Nah, exactly.
It was a real stretch, Yep.
I'm the same as you. When I listen to
the Ghost Box?
Yeah, Spirit Box, I really struggle to get anything from that. And then other people, they hear it clear as day, and I think, well, it's clear as day. Surely everyone should be hearing it.
I guess that's not to say it's not. I'm not saying it's invalid. I'm just saying I don't get anything from it.
Yeah,
I just
remember, Kev.
When you go, Nacy?
Remember when you were playing those audio clips where people were trying to decipher what they heard, where some people heard one thing and other people heard something totally different.
Yeah, those audible, those were really weird, man, really weird. It was like these audible kind of illusions, an audio illusion, where some people would hear one phrase being said, Joe, yet at the very same time, other people would hear something completely different. And it was triggering people in the chat room. People were arguing. But it's just one of these real weird things where some people hear something one way, but other people hear it a totally different way. And again, that ties in with, well, no two realities are the same. Like when people witness something, we'll see it differently, right? Well, we all hear things differently as well. So it makes you wonder how much that ties into how we interpret the world around us and how wrong or how off our interpretation might be because of the information that is coming in. We're not interpreting it right. Oh, who knows? Here we go. We'll come back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for saving myself and the YouTube audience from me blabbering on like an idiot in Babylon. Yes, indeed. I don't even know what we were talking about towards the end of the break there, but I do know that after the end of this segment, we will be handing it over to the very, very brilliant and a man that is no stranger to the woo. It will be Brent Thomas, and he's firing it up right now. I see him. He's got the gloves on. He's ready to go. Gloves, you say? Yes. When you operate the paranormal portal, you need a pair of gloves on. So if you dare to continue the wooery, the high strangeness, the paranormal, the supernatural, the interdimensional creepers, and just you stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Unless you're on YouTube, you can jump on over then to the Paranormal Portal YouTube channel. And don't forget, Brent is on every single night of the week. The man works absolutely religiously, tirelessly. And today, one of the lube crew is going to be on there. They say you're going to be slipping and sliding in a lubster onto the paranormal portal. How does that feel for you?
If I may, Captain, I apologize. I forgot to give you the memo, but Brent is no longer on every evening on Mondays and Tuesdays.
Okay.
He is taking a break, and that was my fault, sir. I forgot to give you the memo.
No, good on him. Everyone needs to take a break at some point, dude. It's like, it's crazy. People don't realize when you do this every single day, it has an effect. I'm telling you, you can only stare into the abyss so long, gentlemen, so long.
But you are correct. I will be joining Brent after the show today for the first hour. So please come and join us. It's always appreciative. And we'll share some of the paranormal woo where I've experienced. And this is where we're kind of going to go a little bit. And I'll share this before we get into it. At one time, because of my situation of being blind and in a wheelchair, I would have to rely on my partner to help me get in and out of bed. One evening, she helped me get into bed. Everything's fine. Everything's copacetic. The next morning, we go to get me up out of bed. She sits me up on the bed, and then I feel her peel something off of my back. And it's branches with leaves that was stuck to my back. And she is like, oh my God, what the whatever.
What the Dickens done that?
Firecracker!
Exactly, because she's like, when you went to bed, this was not under you. And I don't move much when I sleep. I pretty much stay in the same position. But then all of a sudden, this was an occurrence that would happen practically every 3 months, where I would be getting up out of bed and there would be branches, grass, or leaves. And I'm in a wheelchair all the time, so I'm not on the ground to where there could be branches and grass and stuff of that nature. But this is my world. I have speculated that I could have been abducted, but I don't know. I don't know, but the speculation has been there. And with that being said, we got some other woo, I believe.
Oh, man, well,
things.
It's not so much woo, this is somebody, I think, this is livescience.com. This is somebody I think that doesn't have much experience or has not experienced it herself. And how many people really have? I don't know. It's hard to believe something when there's absolutely no frame of reference for that other person, right? But here it says alien abduction stories, and alien abduction is in quotation marks, may come from lucid dreaming, study hints. So there was a study out there. It says lucid dreaming, in which people are partially aware and can control their dreams during sleep, could explain so-called alien abduction stories, so a study suggests. Claims of such abductions date to the 19th century. The circumstances of the kidnappings often sound dreamlike and trigger feelings of terror and paralysis. Certain dream states are also known to produce such feelings, leading Russian researchers to wonder if dream experiments could provide clues about alleged extraterrestrial experiences. Now, the scientists prompted lucid dreamers to dream about encounters with aliens or unidentified flying objects, and found that a number of sleepers reported dreams that resembled actual descriptions of alleged alien abductions. During lucid dreams, sleepers are aware that they're dreaming and can then use that awareness to manipulate what's happening in the dream. About 55% of people experience lucid dreaming once or more in their lifetime, and 23% have lucid dreams at least once a month, according to a 2016 study in the journal Consciousness and Cognition that analyzed 5 decades worth of sleep research. Recently, researchers with the Phased Research Center, a private facility in Moscow that researches lucid dreaming, conducted experiments with 152 adults who self-identified as lucid dreamers, instructing them to find or summon aliens or UFOs during a lucid dream. The scientists reported July 2nd, this was in the International Journal of Dream Research. They found that of the 152 adults, 114 of the participants reported dreaming about having some type of successful interaction with an extraterrestrial. Of those, about 61% described meeting aliens that resembled extraterrestrials from science fiction novels and films, while 19% met aliens that looked like ordinary people, according to the study. Now, one female participant spoke of seeing little men with blue skin, oversized heads, and huge bulging eyes. When the aliens invited her onto their spaceship, quote, "I was blinded by a very bright light, like from a searchlight," she said. "My vision was gone, and I felt light and dizzy." Another participant that he said dreamed he was lying in his bed when he felt as though he was being dragged somewhere, ended up in a room with a white silhouette that reached into his chest and started doing something inside with tools. Conversations with dream aliens took place 26% of the time of these encounters, and 12% of the participants spoke with aliens in their dreams and interacted with them physically. UFOs showed up 28% of the meetings, and 10% of the dreamers who saw UFOs described being brought inside an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Now, of those who described their encounters as realistic, 24% also experienced sleep paralysis and intense fear. Now, I'm going to stop there for a second. I have experienced sleep paralysis, but in a very different way, where, like, I'm struggling to wake up. And it's not that I don't want to wake up. It's that, like, I can't move to wake up. And I literally have to roll myself onto the floor to get myself to snap out of it. And even then, it just feels like an extremely heavy sleep. But it's not sleep paralysis in the way of, like, an alien's holding me down sleep paralysis. It's just one of those things where it's like a very heavy sleep where I just can't snap out of it. And the only way to do it is just to flop on the floor. But here, they're saying that such emotions often accompany reports of supposed alien abductions. And though individuals who describe being kidnapped by aliens might truly believe that what they experienced was real, these people were likely experiencing an extraterrestrial meeting while in a lucid dream. Feelings of paralysis, fear, helplessness, and vivid dreams can be so powerful that they blur the lines between dreams and reality. So it's no wonder that people who may knowingly or unknowingly been dreaming instead insist that they've actually met with aliens who stole them away and transported them to UFOs. And that is the problem with PRC's head researcher and founder, Michael Raduga, is that you can't account for the physical evidence that normally accompanies these alien abductions, a la leaves and grass. Lucid dreams don't make things materialize out of thin air. Anal probes. Oh, that's a good one, Kev. Can't have those. And when that happens, lucid dreams don't do that. So these are issues that a lot of people have to overcome, is that oftentimes these alien abductions are accompanied by at least some physical evidence. So very interesting how, if there's a no physical evidence thing, I could see that. If you woke up in your bed, like, okay, I fell asleep and then I woke up in my bed all snugly warm, but the dream thing didn't happen, and instead I was abducted by aliens. See, that doesn't. I would have to say to myself, no, I had a pretty realistic dream, and I'm going to go to work now, because I'm not going to be telling people I got abducted by aliens. Not unless I got something solid, Kev. I'm telling you right now.
Well, that is back to where we were talking about, what do individuals disclose about their experiences? Because there is that fear of how is the rest of the world going to look at me? And I've gotten to the point now in my 54 years that the bizarreness that has been my entire experience in this meat suit that I'm in, I can't explain it. The best way I can explain it is there's a book by Bob Frizzle, and he
Great
wrote
name.
Nothing.
Yeah, is it How to Live in a Meat Suit?
The title of his book was Nothing in This Book is True, but it's exactly how it was. And in the irony of it, I find out after I get this book and read it that he's from a smaller town in North Dakota, and he moved to Fargo. And Fargo is right across the river from where I'm at. And
that's why.
Well, this is again where Kev asked me earlier about areas, that I've been to. In Fargo, Moorhead, between us is the Red River. The Red River is one of the very few rivers that flow to the north from the south. And
like the Mississippi?
Well, no, the Mississippi goes, or excuse me, I said that wrong. It flows to the north from the south.
That's right, like the Mississippi. So from the south to the north.
No, the Mississippi flows south.
Yeah, that's right.
Right, but the Red River flows north into Canada.
I'm trying to get you to do the duck season, wabbit season thing, but it didn't work too well.
Wabbit season.
Duck
You're
season,
just despicable. But so this is just the bizarreness, of people's entity, and we get the opportunity to share these, here on Truth Frequency, here on Freaky Friday, and it makes me ponder: is there a synchronicity? Is there a coincidence that we come here together collectively to share these things, like the community on YouTube or the community in Discord? What is it that is bringing us together, and is it for a purpose, for an end result?
I think it's because people feel comfortable being with kindred people that think alike, because it gives them that feeling of comfort. It appeals to their reptilian brain. It basically completes the cycle of, reptilian limbic cortex, reptilian cortex limbic, where you have you have to complete that whole cycle, but the end result is, and that's what everybody looks for, that endorphin release or that feeling of comfort, that feeling of security from the crowd.
But, you know,
So,
back to your alien thing. I'm a bit of
Yeah.
a weirdo, really, because I kind of hold multiple positions on this. Because
did you ever get abducted by one?
No, a position or an alien, neither's happened yet. But
Dadgummit.
listen, like obviously logically, like that study is saying, and we looked at this on one of the streams. I would imagine a lot of people who think they've been abducted have been subject to a really vivid
Absolutely.
dream.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, I also believe that the potential for alien abduction is very, very real. But how on earth do you prove it?
Yeah,
Again, it
well,
comes,
you have
comes
to
to
have
that
you have to
evidence
have an
thing
anal
again.
probe.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
keep my mind open on that. I also keep my mind open when it comes to the whole kind of channeling thing. Again, logically, I want to say, well, nah, really, why? To what ends? Where's it getting us? What's the point? But then at the same time, the other side of me says, well, can't rule it out. Because
Exactly.
can't rule it out. So again, I'm a
Because
bit of a
to do
weirdo.
so,
I'm a
No, you're
fence
not.
sitter, dude. I'm a fence sitter. But it's just the way I
It's-
look at things.
it's not that. It's not sitting on the fence. It's being open.
Yeah, there's
That's it.
different
It's
ways
just
to looking
not
at it, you
having
know?
exactly. There's not having an allegiance to any sort of thought, because look at science is all dogma now. It's all been dogma. It's all dogma. So if I say that, let's just say that, I don't know, the sky is green, and all these scientists, mainstream scientists, say that the sky is green, but then Kev comes and says, the sky is blue. Well, you're an outcast, Kev. You're never going to be able to make it in science, because even if it's true, it's not true, because this is the accepted theory, and you can't go outside of that. You can't go up. It's almost become, people will kill almost, and maybe even more so than that, to ensure that their theory maintains its stature in the eyes of their colleagues and in the world. It's nuts. Instead of pursuing the truth to say, oh, maybe relativity's not exactly right. Maybe we gotta, no, God forbid, we tweak it, we do any. You see a lot of that. And it's sad, because it holds us back, I think, in a lot of ways. A lot of people that, like, for example, in the 1940s, we could run automobiles off of wood gas. We had to, because gasoline was rationed, right? But even today, we still use that stuff, gasoline and all this, when it's supposedly so bad. Okay, great. Then we can give, like, energy to hydrogen and all this stuff to people, and we don't have to put meters on houses for electricity, because we know we can do this, because this is stuff that happened 100 years ago. We know that. Does it happen? No, it doesn't happen. Is that technology snuffed out every time it comes around or gains any traction? Just like anything else, of course it is, because at the time, those in power want to stay in power. Whether it be
PPP
science,
gas.
whether it be science, politics, medicine, banking, it doesn't matter where it is, because everything can be tied to a business or a corporation at the end of the day. Truly.
With alien abduction, I would speculate that you will be visited at least by 3 different entities.
Oh no, it just sounds like Scrooge.
And my speculation would be that, so if you are visited by Group A, then Group A's polar opposite would come and visit you in Group B. And then human would come and visit you too, because they want to know what Group A and Group B are thinking, just as B wants to know what A is thinking, or A might be thinking what B is. And to even speculate further, I would make the proclamation that the different races on this sphere, globe, whatever it is,
Hemorrhoid.
are owned.
Potato.
Hemorrhoid.
Are owned by this vegetable that we live on would be owned by a certain extraterrestrial race where, you know, our genetic composition was manipulated specifically.
We are man-corn for the reptilians, dude. Man-corn. That's what we are, man. Yep. The organic robotoids are coming back with the reptilians.
The organic robotoids. Oh my god.
Organic robotoids are coming back. The ambassador has set up a forward operations base. I'm telling you, we're ready to go, man.
That is fabulous. I gotta write that one.
You like that one? Will we go with it?
Oh.
Will we go with it? You know, I'd probably
is-
get 10 times the audience if I was actually
That
to wholeheartedly go for that.
Kev, that's gold.
That's a
think so?
t-shirt.
Well, will I finally come out? Will I finally admit to the world what I really am? And by that, I mean like a contactee for off-world civilizations that honestly have your best interests at heart. How do I know that? They don't just talk about lube. They showed me it. So yes, they're coming back, ladies and gentlemen.
And quite frankly, that would be the colony scenario where you're kind of like that liaison.
The royal
between-
salamander, the royal
That's right.
salamander is coming back. Yes.
I like it.
Enoch the Slee Stack.
Yeah.
Well, you know, here's the thing. What was it? What was that movie that came out about 10 years ago, Kev? With the children
Of the corn, man corn.
No,
Children of the cornhole?
No, it had to do with God. It was
Escape
the red
to Witch
demon,
Mountain?
the red demon looking dude that
tomorrow,
came back.
world,
Jupiter Rising.
The Children of
childhood's end,
Tomorrow.
childhood's end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's
Big
that's it.
Karelin, the big. Oh yes, man.
Yeah, wow,
Big
that's
man
it.
gets
Right.
off. Think so?
So are you going to be his liaison? Are you the liaison?
Yeah, depending on what perks I'm getting offered, man, I'll sell out.
There wasn't many perks. There wasn't really a lot of perks there, dude.
No, I'm thinking though. I'm hoping in my fictional reality that we all live now. I mean, just admit it, folks. We all live in a fictional version of reality. I'm hoping there'll be like some kind of cosmic payoff if I like sell out Team Humanity and become their liaison officer.
I know, but look at like, okay, so spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, they're already
So-
here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
They're already here.
Just put on your glasses. Would you, if you were faced with that scenario at the end, would you go back to the Earth or would you stay up there?
Listen, dude, we can all sit here and laugh and joke, but I imagine if one of these craft was to fly down and manifest in front of us, I reckon we'd all lose our crap. We would be wetting ourselves. There'd be pant moustaches going on,
exploding.
hearts exploding. The minds of men would just...
Release
Tell
the
you, man.
Kraken.
Release the Kraken.
When you realise that V wasn't a fictional show, it was actually a documentary about what was to come. And they don't even suit up in the human suit; they just come off full reptilian.
They just come out full reptilian.
Yeah,
And one's wearing the crown of England.
yeah. Have you seen that? Is it Tomorrow's War? That new film that's out.
I have not.
People come back
Is it
from the
good?
future, and they have to take people from now to go and serve a week. They have to go into the future, a week into the future, to fight the aliens, dude. Really good movie.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Yeah, oh, it's really good, man. Really good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's tough. That whole alien abduction thing is tough.
It's
Because
a hard shtick to sell.
It is a hard stick because not only do you not have to have evidence, I mean, you got to have something, right?
At least a bit
something
of
about-
shrapnel and an X-ray or something. Yeah.
Something. Otherwise, what do you got? And then if you go to sleep in bed and you wake up in bed and all you got is what's in between, you got nothing. I'm sorry. You got nothing.
Yep.
I'm just saying, because you got to come with something tangible today for humanity. They do not buy. Now, maybe you take the Geiger counter to you. Maybe there's some way to track the waves. Maybe you got some sort of contamination. I don't know.
Maybe the lube has a half-life, man.
Maybe the lube has a half-life. Yeah, you don't know.
It's a good name for our first album, eh? Lube has a half-life.
Dude, that sounds like a band name.
Isn't that? That's pretty cool, man. I'm liking it. I don't think we'd get
Radioactive lube.
I don't think we'd get booked onto too many liberal campuses.
Are you kidding?
No,
we would be at every one of them.
Oh, I don't think so. Did we get cancelled quickly? We get cancelled quickly. Yeah.
Black lube glue.
Lube has a half-life. The devil's lube.
Yes, indeed. Wherever you are, make a TFR. Did he touch that
Toodles.
dial?
Better watch what you eating, cause you are what you eating. Everybody food generate thoughts. You speaking, better watch what you drink. It affect what you think. God, throw a data water.
Imagine finishing the show with the devil's lube.
The devil's
The devil's lube.
Yes, indeed. So listen, folks.
Hey, gentlemen, I gotta jump off.
No problems.
love you
I'm
guys.
gonna
Thank
stop
you.
the stream anyway. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank
Toodles.
Joe, thank Nacy, thank all of you for tuning in, and keep your eyes open over the weekend. We may be back for another stream. I'm wanting to start streaming on Odyssey, where I can take Joe and Scotty Lopez, and we can do a, I don't know, Woodshed 18, Hanger 1.8. I don't know.
You wouldn't be. I don't think you can handle it if I can't even talk about anything.
Odyssey can handle it, dude. Odyssey can handle it. Odyssey
You
is
can't
the place to
handle
be.